What if I told you that the most powerful strength you can develop is learning how to be completely unbothered by toxic people? Imagine what your life would feel like if you no longer carried their words, their negativity, or their chaos inside you. What if their attempts to hurt you, to shake your peace, simply bounced off like water on stone? This isn't just a nice idea or a vague hope. It's a real superpower waiting inside you to be unlocked. But first, you need to understand what it means to truly be unbothered. It's not about pretending you don't care or shutting off your heart. It's about owning your power, your peace, and refusing to let anyone else control your emotions or your worth. When you develop this ability, you become unshakable. You walk through life with calm, clarity, and strength that others envy. Toxic people lose their grip because you've taken back what they tried to steal, your emotional freedom. Staying unbothered doesn't mean you'll never face conflict or pain, but it does mean you will no longer be a victim to the chaos around you. The truth is, toxic people will always exist. They might be in your family, at work, or even in your closest circles. They thrive on drama, control, and feeding off others' pain. But you don't have to play their game. You don't have to absorb their toxicity or allow it to define your day, your mood, or your life. The moment you realize that your peace is your most valuable possession, you'll start protecting it fiercely. Imagine waking up every morning feeling lighter, clearer, and more in control of your emotions than ever before. Imagine the relief of no longer carrying the weight of anger, resentment, or fear caused by others' toxic behavior. That relief is what you can experience, and it begins the moment you decide to no longer give your energy away. The emotional reward of mastering this mindset is freedom. A freedom so profound that it changes how you see yourself and the world. You become someone who commands respect, not through anger or aggression, but through calm confidence and self-control. This shift rewires your brain, your reactions, and your daily experiences. It's a change that makes you stronger, wiser, and more resilient. But here's the key. Learning to be unbothered isn't a quick fix. It requires commitment, practice, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths about yourself and others. It challenges your old habits of reacting and opens a path toward intentional response. The good news is, this path leads straight to a life where toxic people have no power over you. So if you're tired of feeling drained, anxious, or upset because of toxic people, stay with me. What follows is a step-by-step guide to unlocking this superpower inside you, helping you build emotional armor, set boundaries, and claim your peace. By the end of this, you'll see that being unbothered isn't just a dream. It's a choice, a skill, and your greatest strength. The journey to unshakable peace starts now. Are you ready to claim it? What if you could see toxic people clearly, not as enemies, but as reflections of their own pain and fear? Understanding this changes everything. Toxic behavior rarely comes from a place of strength or malice alone. It's often born from deep insecurities and unresolved wounds. When someone tries to pull you into their storm, they are battling their own chaos. Realizing this does not excuse their actions, but it frees you from the trap of taking their toxicity personally. The moment you stop personalizing their cruelty, you start to dismantle their power over your emotions. You no longer feel the need to defend, explain, or react. Instead, you gain the ability to observe with clarity and detachment. When you grasp this truth, your energy shifts from reactive to proactive. You begin to reclaim control over your inner world. Toxic people feed on your reactions. They want to stir anger, frustration, and self-doubt because these emotions give them influence. But once you see through the mask and understand the root of their behavior, their attempts to manipulate you lose their grip. You start to recognize their tactics, whether it's guilt-tripping, blame-shifting, or endless criticism, and you refuse to engage. This is not about suppressing your feelings or pretending everything is fine. It's about consciously choosing not to let their toxicity invade your peace. When you stop reacting to toxic triggers, you deny them the emotional fuel they crave. This mental and emotional distance is your fortress. It protects you from being dragged into battles that drain your energy and cloud your judgment. And the more you practice this perspective, the stronger your defenses become. You build a kind of emotional immunity, a shield forged from understanding, compassion, and firm boundaries. Imagine the relief of no longer being pulled into someone else's chaos. Imagine the freedom that comes with seeing toxic behavior for what it truly is, without absorbing its poison. This clarity is the first step toward emotional liberation. It allows you to focus your energy where it truly matters, on your growth, your dreams, and your peace. The people who try to bring you down are wrestling with their own shadows. When you refuse to be their mirror, you break the cycle. You refuse to carry their pain as your own. Instead, you rise above it with grace and strength. This shift doesn't mean you become cold or unfeeling. It means you become wise. You learn to protect your heart without closing it off. You create a safe space within yourself that no toxicity can penetrate. This is the foundation of being unbothered. It's a mindset that frees you from unnecessary suffering and emotional exhaustion. And once you internalize this mindset, you begin to see your relationships in a new light. You start to value those who uplift and respect you and gently distance yourself from those who drain your energy. You understand that protecting your peace is not selfish, it's essential. You deserve to live a life where your emotions are your own, where your mind is clear and your heart is strong. This understanding sets the stage for the next vital step, building the boundaries that keep your peace intact. But before you get there, remember this: recognizing toxic people for who they really are is your first act of reclaiming power. It's the moment you stop being their victim and start becoming the master of your emotional world. This truth will anchor you, no matter what storms come your way. Setting boundaries is not just a skill, it is the lifeline that preserves your peace in a world full of toxic influences. When you think about boundaries, don't picture walls or barriers meant to isolate you. Instead, see them as clear lines of respect you draw to protect your energy and your emotional health. Boundaries are your personal code, an unbreakable promise you make to yourself that certain behaviors and attitudes will no longer be tolerated. Without boundaries, toxic people will continue to invade your life, chip away at your confidence, and rob you of your happiness. The problem is, many people fear setting boundaries because it feels uncomfortable, or they worry about upsetting others. They think that saying no will lead to rejection or conflict. But what they don't realize is that failing to set boundaries actually invites deeper pain. When you allow toxic behavior to persist, you suffer in silence. Your mind becomes a battlefield, and your heart carries wounds that never heal. The truth is, setting boundaries is a radical act of self-love and courage. It says, I value myself enough to protect my peace, no matter what. When you start to practice this, your whole world shifts. You begin to stand taller, speak firmer, and move through life with a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken. Boundaries are your invisible shield, keeping you safe from emotional harm and manipulation. And the most powerful part? Boundaries don't just keep toxic people out. They also create space for healthy relationships to grow. When you set clear limits, you teach others how to treat you. You attract respect, kindness, and genuine connection. You stop wasting time on draining relationships and start investing in those that nurture your soul. But setting boundaries is not always easy. It requires you to know yourself deeply, what you will accept, what you won't, and why. It demands honesty and consistency. You have to be willing to say no, even when your heart fears loneliness or conflict. And you have to practice patience with yourself as you grow into this new way of being. Every time you honor a boundary, you reinforce your self-worth. You send a message to yourself that your feelings matter and your peace is non-negotiable. This repetition builds strength over time. Soon, saying no becomes less scary and more empowering. You stop over-explaining or justifying yourself. You simply stand firm, knowing that your emotional well-being is the highest priority. Remember, boundaries are not punishments for others. They are protections for you. They allow you to choose who and what deserves your time and energy. This clarity frees you from the exhausting cycle of people-pleasing and resentment. As you learn to set and maintain boundaries, you create a life where toxic people lose access to your mind and heart. You build a sanctuary inside yourself where negativity cannot survive. This sanctuary is your safe place, your superpower, your emotional fortress. It is where you begin to live fully, freely, and fearlessly. Your peace is worth fighting for. Protect it fiercely and watch how your entire world begins to change. True freedom from toxic people begins when you take full ownership of your emotional reactions. Too often we give away our power by allowing others to dictate how we feel, how we think, and how we respond. Toxic individuals know this. They seek to control you by triggering your deepest insecurities, fears, and doubts. But here's the truth that will change everything. Your emotions are yours alone. No one else can make you angry, anxious, or sad unless you let them. This does not mean your feelings aren't real or valid. On the contrary, it means you hold the key to how those feelings affect your life. When you stop blaming others for your emotional state, you reclaim your power. You step out of the victim role and into the role of the creator of your experience. This shift is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending toxic actions don't hurt. It's about recognizing that how you react is a choice, a powerful choice that shapes your reality. Imagine what it would feel like to pause before reacting, to breathe deeply, and to choose a response that protects your peace rather than feeds the chaos. This ability to respond rather than react is the foundation of being unbothered. It is a muscle you can strengthen with practice. Start by becoming aware of your triggers. Notice the moments when toxic behavior pulls at your emotions and makes you want to lash out, withdraw, or spiral into negativity. This awareness creates a gap, a space where you can choose differently. In that space, you decide not to give your power away. Instead, you decide to respond with calmness, clarity, and confidence. This practice rewires your brain, gradually turning old reactive patterns into new empowered habits. As you gain control over your emotions, toxic people lose their influence. Their words become noise, their actions lose impact, and their attempts to provoke you fail. This freedom allows you to focus on what truly matters: your growth, your goals, and your happiness. Emotional mastery also opens the door to self-compassion. When you stop blaming yourself for how toxic people affect you, you begin to treat yourself with kindness and patience. You accept that feeling hurt or triggered is natural, but you refuse to stay stuck there. You learn to comfort yourself, to heal, and to move forward stronger than before. This internal shift radiates outward. It changes how others see you and how you carry yourself in every interaction. You become someone who commands respect not through aggression, but through steady strength and unwavering peace. Taking ownership of your emotional responses is not always easy. It requires courage to face uncomfortable feelings and discipline to practice new habits consistently. But the rewards are immense. You break free from the exhausting cycle of emotional manipulation and reclaim your life. You become unbothered not because toxic people disappear, but because you no longer give them space inside your mind and heart. This is your superpower, the ability to remain calm, centered, and whole, no matter what storms rage around you. When you own your emotions fully, you become unstoppable. Nothing outside can shake the peace you carry within. When you choose to protect your peace, you inevitably face the challenge of letting go of the need to control how others perceive you. Toxic people thrive on your reactions because they feed on the energy you give them, whether it's anger, frustration, or even desperate attempts to be understood. But the real power lies in your ability to release this need for validation from those who seek to drain you. Understanding that you cannot control others, only your own response, frees you from endless cycles of disappointment and emotional exhaustion. The moment you accept this truth, you begin to shift from being a prisoner of toxic influence to the architect of your own peace. This release is not easy. It asks you to confront deep fears, the fear of rejection, loneliness, or being misunderstood. These fears have held many captive, convincing them that maintaining connection at any cost is worth the pain. But what if the cost is too high? What if true freedom requires you to walk away from relationships that no longer serve your highest good? When you let go of the need to be seen a certain way by toxic people, you reclaim your energy and your dignity. You stop performing emotional gymnastics to appease others, and instead you start living authentically. This authenticity attracts the right kind of energy. People who uplift rather than drain, who respect rather than disrespect. The decision to detach emotionally is not about becoming cold or indifferent. It's about cultivating a deep inner calm that cannot be disturbed by negativity. It's about choosing your peace over the chaos others try to impose. This practice strengthens your emotional resilience, making you less vulnerable to manipulation and more aligned with your true self. The process involves repeated commitment to yourself, reminding yourself daily that your worth is not tied to others' opinions or approval. It means practicing radical self-acceptance and embracing the imperfections within yourself that toxic voices often try to exploit. As you grow stronger in this detachment, you begin to notice subtle shifts. Your mind clears from obsessive thoughts about toxic people. Your heart heals from the wounds they caused. You develop a sense of peace that no external drama can shake. This peace is the foundation of your superpower, the ability to remain centered and calm regardless of external chaos. It is a quiet strength that radiates from within, creating a protective aura that repels negativity. Letting go of control over how toxic people see you does not mean giving up on your boundaries or your voice. Instead, it means setting them with grace and confidence, without the need for validation or approval. You learn to hold firm to your truth without becoming entangled in others' attempts to drag you into their negativity. This emotional detachment becomes a shield, guarding your mental and emotional well-being. It allows you to choose your battles wisely and conserve your energy for what truly matters: your growth, your dreams, and your happiness. When you master this art, you transform your relationship with toxic people. They lose their power over you because you no longer invest in their opinions or emotions. You become unbothered, unstoppable, and free. This is the strength that fuels your journey toward a life defined by peace, purpose, and authentic joy. One of the most powerful steps toward becoming unbothered by toxic people is mastering the art of boundaries, not just setting them, but owning them with unwavering clarity and confidence. Boundaries are more than rules for others. They are declarations of self-respect. They communicate to the world what you will accept and what you will not. Without strong boundaries, toxic influences creep into your life unnoticed, slowly eroding your peace, your confidence, and your sense of self-worth. When you begin to see boundaries as an act of self-love rather than confrontation, you unlock a profound source of inner power. This shift changes everything. You stop fearing the discomfort of saying no. You stop feeling guilty for prioritizing your well-being. You stop tolerating disrespect disguised as love or friendship. Boundaries become the invisible armor that protects your mental and emotional space. The strength to maintain them comes from a deep belief in your own value, a belief that you deserve respect, kindness, and honesty. When toxic people push against your boundaries, their resistance is a clear sign that you are reclaiming your power. You do not have to engage in battles or justify your limits. Simply standing firm in your truth sends a message that you are no longer available to be manipulated or drained. It's essential to understand that boundary setting is not about controlling others. It's about controlling your space. It's about creating a safe zone where your energy can thrive without constant threat or turmoil. This safety allows you to focus on what nourishes your soul rather than what depletes it. When you consistently enforce your boundaries, you build emotional muscle. The next time someone tries to cross the line, you will respond not with fear or anger, but with calm resolve. This consistency teaches others how to treat you. It also strengthens your self-trust, because each time you honor your limits, you reinforce the message that you are worthy of respect and peace. Learning to say no, to walk away, or to disengage when necessary does not make you weak. It makes you courageous. It means you prioritize your mental health and refuse to accept toxic patterns as a norm. This courage becomes a beacon, drawing like-minded people who respect and support your well-being, and repelling those who seek to harm it. The journey to setting and owning boundaries requires patience and practice. You will face moments of doubt and guilt, especially if you are used to putting others first or avoiding conflict. But every time you choose yourself, you build resilience. You create a life where toxic people hold no power because you do not allow them into your emotional territory. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are gates that protect your peace and invite only what serves your highest good. Embracing this mindset transforms how you live and how you love. It empowers you to stand tall in your truth and walk away from anything that threatens your harmony. When you own your boundaries, you become unshakable. You become a force of calm strength that no toxic energy can penetrate. This is a superpower, a daily choice to protect your peace and nurture your soul. It is your foundation for lasting freedom and joy. Your energy is your most precious resource, yet toxic people constantly attempt to drain it, leaving you depleted and vulnerable. Recognizing that your emotional energy is finite is crucial to mastering the art of being unbothered. When you understand that every moment you spend reacting to toxicity is a moment lost from your growth, your dreams, and your happiness, you begin to shift your focus with clarity and purpose. It's not about shutting off your feelings or becoming cold. It's about choosing where to invest your energy wisely. You hold the power to decide who and what deserves your attention, and by making that choice deliberately, you reclaim control over your emotional landscape. This deliberate allocation of energy becomes a form of self-defense. It's a mental discipline that protects you from being overwhelmed or manipulated. When toxic people attempt to pull you into their chaos, you remind yourself that engaging is a cost you no longer wish to pay. Instead, you redirect your energy toward building resilience, healing, and pursuing your goals. This shift requires mindfulness, a constant awareness of how your energy flows throughout the day. Ask yourself, where am I spending my emotional strength? Is this conversation, thought, or interaction uplifting me, or is it pulling me down? Awareness opens the door to conscious choice. When you choose to disengage from negativity, you create space for positivity and peace to grow. The challenge lies in breaking old habits of reaction. Toxic people know how to press buttons, to provoke, to stir up emotions that make you feel small or powerless. But you have the capacity to pause, to breathe, and to decide that their attempts no longer hold sway over you. This pause is a powerful moment of reclaiming your authority over your inner world. When you protect your energy this way, you start noticing a profound difference. Your mind becomes clearer, your emotions steadier, and your sense of peace stronger. You stop feeling drained after encounters, and instead, you feel empowered. This empowerment fuels your confidence to set firmer boundaries and to walk away from toxicity without guilt or hesitation. Learning to conserve your energy also means learning to replenish it regularly. Rest, reflection, and activities that nourish your soul become essential practices. When your well-being is prioritized, your ability to resist toxic influences grows exponentially. You build an inner fortress that negativity cannot breach. The way you guard your energy sends a silent but powerful message to those around you. You are not available to be dragged into chaos or drama. This protects your mental and emotional health, allowing you to thrive even in challenging environments. When you fully own your energy, you no longer react impulsively to toxicity. Instead, you respond with calm, clarity, and strength. This emotional sovereignty is a defining characteristic of those who are truly unbothered. It is a superpower born from self-awareness and fierce self-respect. By protecting your energy, you reclaim your freedom to live fully, love deeply, and rise above anything that threatens your peace. This practice is not just survival. It is transformation. It is the foundation of a life where toxic people hold no power, because you simply will not let them. When toxic people try to invade your mental space, the most effective defense is a mindset rooted in detachment, not indifference, but a conscious choice to separate your worth from their chaos. Detachment does not mean shutting down your emotions or avoiding reality. It means refusing to personalize the negativity thrown your way. It is an intentional act of rising above, recognizing that their toxic behavior is a reflection of their own struggles, not your value. When you develop this mindset, you gain clarity and strength to stand firm without being shaken. The power of detachment lies in its ability to protect your emotional equilibrium. Instead of absorbing every insult, manipulation, or criticism, you create an invisible shield that filters out what is untrue and harmful. This shield does not isolate you, it frees you. It allows you to engage with the world without carrying the heavy burden of toxic energy. It's important to understand that detachment is a skill you cultivate through practice and self-awareness. It requires you to pause, observe your reactions, and consciously choose how deeply you let others' negativity affect you. You learn to see toxic behavior for what it really is, a temporary disturbance, not a permanent stain on your identity. This shift in perspective rewires your brain to prioritize your well-being over the need to prove yourself or gain approval. Toxic people often thrive on provoking emotional responses because it feeds their control. When you detach, you deny them that fuel. Your silence, your calm, your refusal to engage in their drama becomes a powerful statement of strength. You show that their toxicity cannot dictate your peace. This does not mean you become cold or disconnected from your feelings. On the contrary, detachment allows you to be fully present with your emotions, without letting them overwhelm or control you. You become the observer of your inner world, rather than a victim of external chaos. This psychological distance is where true resilience is born. You gain the ability to respond rather than react, to choose peace over conflict, and to protect your mental sanctuary with fierce love. Detachment is not a passive defense, it is an active declaration of self-respect and empowerment. It rewires your emotional responses and transforms vulnerability into strength. As you practice this mindset, you begin to experience freedom from the emotional weight toxic people try to impose. You reclaim your right to peace, joy, and self-worth. This mindset becomes your superpower, an unshakable foundation that no toxic influence can erode. When you live with detachment, you embody a quiet strength that commands respect. You create boundaries that are not just physical but deeply psychological. Toxic people may try to test your limits, but detachment keeps you steady and unbothered. You no longer invest energy in battles that drain you. Instead, you focus on what truly matters: your growth, your happiness, your life. This transformation is profound because it frees you from the cycle of hurt and reaction. It empowers you to walk through life with grace, confidence, and unwavering peace. Detachment is your shield, your weapon, and your sanctuary. It is the invisible superpower that changes everything. The foundation of becoming truly unbothered by toxic people lies in mastering your inner dialogue. Every thought you allow to linger shapes your emotional reality. When toxic words or actions come your way, the question is not whether they affect you, that is natural, but how deeply they penetrate your mind and heart. Your inner voice is the gatekeeper between their toxicity and your peace. If your thoughts replay every insult or criticism, you give those toxic influences power over your feelings. But if you learn to intercept and transform these thoughts, you reclaim control. This begins by recognizing that your mind is not a passive receiver but an active participant in your experience. You have the power to challenge and reframe every negative message you receive. When a toxic comment hits, pause and ask yourself, is this true? Does this reflect my real worth? By consciously questioning these intrusions, you weaken their grip and open space for clarity. Replacing destructive thoughts with affirming truths rewires your brain's response to toxicity. It shifts you from a place of vulnerability to one of strength. You begin to see toxic people's words as echoes of their own pain rather than reflections of your value. This mental shift is not just comforting, it is transformative. The practice of nurturing a strong, positive inner dialogue acts like armor. It prevents the poison of toxic behavior from sinking deep. When your mind is fortified, emotional wounds heal faster and your confidence grows. This inner resilience stops toxic influences from spiraling into self-doubt or anxiety. It empowers you to stand tall in the face of negativity, knowing that your worth is not negotiable. Cultivating this mental strength requires discipline and daily commitment. It's not about ignoring reality or pretending pain doesn't exist. It's about choosing to nourish your mind with empowering thoughts that uplift rather than break you down. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes to protect your peace. You begin to notice how toxic triggers lose their sting, how your emotional responses shift from reaction to control. This does not happen overnight. It is a process of reclaiming your mental sovereignty one thought at a time. When your inner dialogue is aligned with your highest truth, toxic voices become background noise rather than defining echoes. This clarity creates space for personal growth and joy. It allows you to focus on your goals, your dreams, and the relationships that truly matter. You are no longer tethered to the chaos of toxicity, but anchored in your own power. This mental mastery is a superpower because it transforms how you experience the world. It frees you from being a victim to toxic behavior and turns you into a master of your own emotional landscape. With this strength, you are equipped to face life's challenges without losing your center. You become a force of calm and courage, radiating peace even in the storm. This is the power of controlling your inner dialogue, an invisible strength that shapes your reality and builds an unshakable foundation for lasting freedom from toxicity. When you own this power, you redefine what it means to be truly unbothered. True freedom from toxic people does not come from changing them. It comes from changing how you respond. When you realize that you cannot control others, but you can control your reactions, a new kind of power emerges. This power is not loud or flashy, it is steady, quiet, and unshakable. It is the ability to choose your response, no matter how chaotic or poisonous the environment around you becomes. Toxic people thrive on chaos because chaos unsettles the mind and drains your energy. But when you respond with calm and intentionality, you break their cycle of control. You send a clear message your peace is not negotiable. This is a revolutionary shift, because so much of the world teaches us to react, to argue, to defend, to prove ourselves. But reaction gives away your power. It hands your peace to someone else's hands. Choosing response instead means pausing to recognize your feelings, acknowledging them without judgment, and then deliberately deciding your next step. This takes courage. It means sitting with discomfort without rushing to fix it through confrontation or approval seeking. It means trusting that your peace is worth more than momentary validation or winning a pointless battle. The strength to pause and respond builds emotional immunity. It shields you from being manipulated or dragged into drama. Instead of reacting to every jab or criticism, you create space to assess what truly matters. This space allows you to protect your energy and focus on what feeds your growth, rather than what drains it. It trains your mind to spot toxic patterns before they hook you, so you can disengage before damage is done. Disengagement is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the discipline to walk away from fights that have no purpose or fruit. It is the self-respect to refuse to be a participant in chaos. When you practice this consistently, you become a force that toxic people cannot penetrate. Their attempts to provoke you fall flat, because your inner world is anchored in calm and clarity. This is not about being cold or indifferent. It is about choosing your battles with intention, conserving your energy for what truly deserves it. This mastery over your responses builds confidence and reduces anxiety because you stop fearing the next attack. You realize you are the captain of your emotional ship, steering through storms without losing direction. The ability to respond rather than react rewires your brain's fight-or-flight mechanism. Instead of triggering automatic defensive behaviors, you activate thoughtful, empowered actions. This rewiring transforms your relationships and interactions, creating healthier boundaries and reducing toxicity's influence. It allows you to protect your mental space without hostility or resentment. In this calm, you find clarity and strength. The world's noise loses its power to disrupt your focus or peace. Your resilience grows deeper, rooted in choice rather than circumstance. This transformation is a cornerstone of being unbothered, a superpower that frees you from toxic entanglements and anchors you in your true strength. Every time you choose response over reaction, you claim your peace and your power more fully. To truly become unbothered by toxic people, you must build a fortress inside yourself, a fortress made of boundaries so strong that negativity bounces off without leaving a mark. Boundaries are not walls meant to isolate you from the world. They are gates that protect your energy and keep you aligned with your highest self. Without boundaries, your peace is vulnerable, exposed to every attack and manipulation. Toxic individuals test limits because they sense weakness or uncertainty. They push until you give in, until you doubt your worth, until you question your strength. But when you establish clear boundaries, you communicate that you are not a playground for their toxicity. These boundaries are not just about saying no to others. They are about saying yes to yourself, saying yes to your mental health, your emotional stability, and your personal growth. Saying yes to a life where you decide what is acceptable and what is not. Building boundaries starts with self-awareness. You must know what drains you and what lifts you. You must recognize your emotional triggers and understand where you feel most vulnerable. When you are aware of these edges, you can guard them fiercely. It takes practice to say no without guilt or fear of judgment. But every time you honor your limits, you reinforce your inner strength. Boundaries give you permission to prioritize yourself unapologetically. They teach others how to treat you by showing what you will and will not tolerate. This clarity cuts through confusion and drama, leaving less room for toxicity to sneak in. Holding boundaries is not about punishment or revenge. It is about respect. Respect for yourself and for your emotional environment. The people who care about you will honor your limits, and those who don't will reveal themselves clearly. This revelation is a gift, not a loss. It frees you to focus your energy on relationships that nourish rather than harm you. When your boundaries are solid, toxic people lose their power over you. They cannot guilt, manipulate, or control you because you have a defined space that is yours alone. This space is sacred. It is where your peace lives and grows. Cultivating this sacred space is an act of courage. It means facing discomfort, standing firm in your truth, and sometimes facing rejection or criticism. Yet, this courage creates freedom. Freedom from anxiety, from second-guessing, from emotional exhaustion. It allows you to walk through life unbothered because your internal fortress holds strong. This fortress is built not only from limits but from self-love. Love that is fierce and protective. Love that refuses to accept anything less than respect. When you wrap yourself in this love, toxicity cannot pierce your armor. Your mind stays clear, your heart stays calm, and your spirit stays unshaken. This inner fortress empowers you to choose peace over chaos every single day. It gives you the superpower to navigate toxic encounters without losing yourself. As your boundaries grow stronger, your confidence blooms and your energy multiplies. You become a magnet for positivity and strength. Toxicity becomes background noise, irrelevant and powerless. This is not just protection, it is transformation. It is reclaiming your life, your peace, and your power. Each boundary you set is a step closer to living fully unbothered, fully free, and fully you. The path to becoming truly unbothered demands a relentless commitment to self-mastery, a daily practice of tuning into your inner world and refusing to let external chaos dictate your emotions. This mastery begins by recognizing that your thoughts are not mere reactions. They are choices you make every moment. The toxic voices and negative influences that try to invade your mind hold no inherent power unless you grant it to them. When you seize control over your inner dialogue, you reclaim your sovereignty. You begin to filter every thought through a lens of strength and clarity, discarding those that serve only to weaken or distract. This process is not instantaneous. It is a continuous reshaping of your mental landscape, a deliberate training of your mind to prioritize peace, resilience, and growth. Each time you catch yourself slipping into doubt, resentment, or fear, you pause and redirect. This pause is your secret weapon, the space where choice lives. It is here that you refuse to spiral into negativity, instead choosing to anchor yourself in calm resolve. The discipline to create this space transforms your mind into a sanctuary, an unshakable refuge where toxic influences cannot penetrate. The power to choose your thoughts fuels emotional independence. You no longer depend on others' approval or validation to feel worthy. Instead, your self-worth is self-generated, rooted deep within your unwavering belief in your own value. This belief becomes a shield, repelling harmful criticism and demeaning words before they can take hold. With every thought you command, your confidence multiplies and your anxiety diminishes. You become less reactive and more intentional, responding to challenges with wisdom rather than impulsivity. This clarity fosters a profound sense of control over your life, a freedom that no toxic energy can rob. Emotional mastery also means embracing discomfort without surrender. Toxic people often provoke because they know discomfort is a trigger, an entry point to unravel your composure. But when you meet discomfort with courage, you disarm their tactics. You sit with unease, acknowledge it without fear, and choose to rise above it. This practice rewires your brain's response to stress, strengthening your resilience and deepening your inner calm. It teaches you that discomfort is temporary, but your power is permanent. This knowledge fortifies you against emotional manipulation and drains the energy of toxicity before it can affect you. Mastery of your inner world reshapes your external reality. It sets new standards for how you allow others to engage with you. Toxic behavior loses its foothold because your energy no longer aligns with it. You attract connections that honor your peace, further reinforcing your unbothered state. The cycle becomes self-sustaining. Peace begets peace. The commitment to mental mastery transforms you from a victim of circumstance into an architect of your destiny. You reclaim the narrative of your life, no longer a spectator to negativity but the author of your emotional experience. This transformation requires persistence and patience, but it yields a profound reward: freedom from the chains of toxic influence and the emergence of an empowered, unshakable self. Your mind becomes a sanctuary, your thoughts your allies, and your peace a non-negotiable foundation. This is the ultimate act of strength, the power to be unbothered, no matter what the world throws at you. True freedom is found when you stop chasing the approval of others and begin honoring the approval within yourself. It is an awakening to the truth that your value does not fluctuate based on external opinions, but stands firm and unshakable, because it is born from self-respect and inner conviction. When you fully embrace this, the toxic voices around you lose their grip. Their power fades because they no longer resonate with your truth. This is the essence of being unbothered. Your peace becomes untouchable, not because you ignore the world, but because you refuse to let it dictate your emotional state. This shift does not mean you become indifferent or disconnected. It means you engage with life from a place of strength, clarity, and unwavering self-worth. You begin to see that not every opinion requires your attention. Not every conflict deserves your energy, and not every criticism should shape your identity. This realization liberates you to focus on what truly matters: your growth, your purpose, and your peace. The journey to this state demands courage. It calls for setting firm boundaries, even when it feels uncomfortable or unfamiliar. Saying no becomes an act of self-love, not selfishness. Protecting your energy is no longer optional, it is essential. Every boundary you set is a declaration that your peace is priceless, and you will not surrender it for fleeting approval or toxic engagement. This clarity guides your relationships, allowing you to surround yourself with people who elevate rather than drain you. Your circle becomes a sanctuary of respect and positivity. With this foundation, your mind becomes a fortress, and your heart a wellspring of calm. Emotional storms may rage around you, but inside you remain anchored. This anchoring transforms your reactions. Instead of reacting impulsively to negativity, you respond with thoughtful composure. Your calm presence disarms hostility and shifts energy. This is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength, the ability to hold space for peace amid chaos. Your resilience grows as you train your mind to focus on what uplifts and empowers, rather than what diminishes and depletes. You become selective with your thoughts and interactions, recognizing that every choice either builds your strength or weakens it. This selectivity is your greatest power, a tool to create the life you deserve. This power also reshapes your self-image. You begin to see yourself as worthy, capable, and deserving of respect, not because of achievements or validation, but simply because you exist. This self-view transforms how you carry yourself, how you speak, and how you engage with the world. Confidence radiates naturally from this place of internal approval. When you live rooted in your own approval, fear loses its hold. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. All these fears dissipate because they no longer have a foundation in your mind. You are free to pursue your goals with passion and focus, untethered by the need to prove yourself to anyone. This freedom is a profound gift, one that allows you to move through life with ease and grace. You no longer carry the heavy burden of pleasing everyone or meeting impossible standards. Instead, you thrive in your own truth, unshaken and unbothered, because you know that your worth is infinite and your peace is sacred. This is the power of honoring your own approval, an unstoppable force that transforms your inner world and ultimately your entire life. The moment you claim ownership of your inner world, you dismantle the chains that once held you captive to doubt and insecurity. You awaken to a reality where your thoughts are no longer dictated by the fears imposed from outside, but are shaped by your conscious choice to embrace power, clarity, and unwavering self-respect. This ownership demands relentless commitment, for the mind naturally drifts toward old patterns, toward the voices that told you to shrink, to hide, to conform. Yet every time you resist those old impulses, you reinforce a new truth. You are the architect of your mind, the commander of your spirit. This is where true transformation begins, not in the external battles that tire and distract, but in the silent victory of mastering your own inner landscape. When you cultivate this mastery, you realize that discomfort is not the enemy but the gateway. Growth never comes from ease. It demands you stretch beyond the familiar, beyond the safety of what is comfortable and known. To remain unbothered is to embrace discomfort with courage and grace, knowing that the pain you endure today is the foundation for the strength you build tomorrow. It is here that resilience becomes a muscle, forged in the fires of challenge and sustained by the discipline to choose peace over reaction, empowerment over victimhood. Your energy becomes a sacred currency, not to be wasted on trivial battles or toxic interactions, but invested in your highest vision of yourself. This vision is not a distant fantasy, but a living blueprint, illuminated by the clarity that comes from self-awareness and intention. It is the fuel that propels you forward when the path seems unclear, when the noise of the world threatens to drown out your voice. Choosing to honor your own energy means saying no to what diminishes you, without guilt or apology. It means creating a sanctuary within yourself where your spirit can rest and renew, regardless of the storms outside. This sanctuary is your invincible fortress, a place where you reconnect with your true essence and remember your inherent worth. The power of this internal refuge transforms your external reality. You become magnetic, not because you seek attention or validation, but because you radiate authenticity and confidence rooted in self-approval. Others are drawn to this light, sensing the strength and calm that comes from someone who is whole and unshaken. This magnetic presence is your natural armor against negativity and doubt. It enables you to walk through life with unwavering faith in your purpose and your path. As you deepen this connection to yourself, fear loses its voice. The fear of rejection, failure, and judgment no longer paralyzes you, because you understand that these fears are mere illusions without power, unless you give them space in your mind. Your focus sharpens and your determination solidifies. You become relentless in the pursuit of your goals, not because you must prove something to the world, but because you owe it to yourself to live fully and boldly. Every step forward is an act of reclaiming your power, a declaration that you will no longer be defined or diminished by the opinions of others. This is the essence of freedom, choosing your peace, standing firm in your truth, and moving through life with the unstoppable force of self-love and self-respect. This is the transformation waiting inside you, ready to rise. Every choice you make becomes a declaration of who you are and what you will no longer tolerate. The power lies not in controlling the outside world, but in mastering the response within. This mastery reshapes the landscape of your life, transforming chaos into clarity, distraction into focus, and fear into courage. When you embrace this truth, your mind becomes an unshakable fortress, impervious to the storms that once threatened to break you. It is here that true strength is born, not from the absence of struggle, but from the unwavering commitment to rise again and again, regardless of how many times you are knocked down. This resilience is not a fleeting feeling, it is a deep, unbreakable conviction that your value and your destiny are not negotiable. Your inner dialogue shifts from doubt to affirmation, from hesitation to boldness. Every negative thought that once had power over you now dissolves under the light of your conscious awareness. This shift does not happen by chance. It is the result of relentless dedication to self-honesty and the courage to confront your shadows. You begin to recognize that discomfort is the compass guiding you toward growth, and that resistance is the signal that you are moving beyond your old limits. With each step you take into this discomfort, you expand your capacity for greatness. This expansion creates a ripple effect, influencing every area of your existence: relationships, work, health, and most importantly, your sense of self-worth. You start to see that the opinions of others no longer hold sway over your emotions or decisions because you have anchored yourself in something far greater, your own truth. This truth is a beacon of light that guides you through the darkest nights of doubt and uncertainty. It fuels a hunger inside you that no external validation can satisfy because it is fed by the purest form of power: self-acceptance. When you accept yourself fully with all your imperfections and strengths, you break free from the chains of comparison and judgment. This freedom ignites a fire within you that no obstacle can extinguish. It propels you forward with fierce determination, a quiet confidence that speaks louder than any external accolade. You learn to set boundaries without apology, to say no without fear, and to prioritize your well-being as a sacred act of self-respect. This discipline is not restrictive. It is liberating. It creates space for your dreams to breathe and for your spirit to soar. In this space, you become unstoppable. Your actions align with your highest intentions, and your energy resonates with a magnetic force that attracts opportunities, allies, and success. You understand that true power is not about control over others, but control over yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your actions. This self-mastery transforms you from a victim of circumstance into the author of your destiny. It empowers you to rewrite the narrative of your life with intention and purpose. This transformation is not just a possibility, it is your birthright. The moment you claim it fully, you step into a life defined not by fear, but by faith in your ability to overcome, to thrive, and to create a legacy that echoes beyond the limits of time. This is the awakening of your true power, waiting to be unleashed. You hold within yourself a force more powerful than any external circumstance, a force forged by every challenge you have faced, every fear you have confronted, and every moment you chose to stand tall instead of shrinking away. This power is not reserved for the fortunate or the chosen few. It is the natural birthright of every human being willing to claim it. To awaken this force, you must look inward and confront the false narratives that have kept you small. The doubts that whisper you are not enough, the fears that convince you to settle, the insecurities that chain you to a life of quiet desperation. They must all be met with unwavering clarity and fierce refusal. Recognize these lies for what they are: illusions designed to keep you comfortable in mediocrity and blind to your true potential. When you challenge these limiting beliefs, you begin to dismantle the prison walls built around your mind. Every mental barrier broken is a victory that propels you closer to freedom. This freedom is not merely the absence of constraint, it is the presence of unshakable self-trust and relentless commitment to growth. It demands discipline to show up for yourself daily, even when motivation fades, even when the world tries to convince you otherwise. It requires you to silence the noise of external expectations and tune into the quiet, powerful voice of your inner truth. This voice is your compass, guiding you through uncertainty with precision and grace. As you deepen this connection, you become increasingly impervious to the judgments and opinions that once held you hostage. You reclaim the narrative of your life, writing it not in reaction to others but in alignment with your highest values and deepest desires. The transformation that occurs is not superficial, it penetrates every fiber of your being, radiating outward and influencing every relationship, every decision, every action. Your presence shifts because your energy shifts. This energy is magnetic. It draws in opportunities that align with your purpose and repels distractions that dilute your focus. You begin to understand that true power is rooted in authenticity. It is not about impressing others or accumulating status. It is about being fully and unapologetically yourself. This authenticity creates a life of meaning and fulfillment that no external achievement can replace. It is the source of resilience when storms arise and the foundation upon which you build an unbreakable spirit. You learn to embrace discomfort as a sacred teacher, knowing that every challenge faced is an opportunity to expand your capacity for greatness. This mindset dissolves fear's grip, replacing it with curiosity and courage. The doubts that once paralyzed you become fuel for your ascent. You step into a life of purpose, not by chance, but by design. Each day becomes a deliberate act of creation, a testament to your commitment to rise above circumstances and claim your destiny. This is the power waiting inside you now. The power to transform pain into strength, struggle into wisdom, and limitation into limitless possibility. It is time to awaken it fully and move forward with unstoppable momentum. You have already begun to break free from the chains of limitation, but true liberation demands more than just breaking away. It calls for total ownership of your life and every moment within it. There is no room for hesitation when your destiny is on the line. Hesitation breeds doubt. Doubt breeds fear. Fear keeps you locked in the familiar, the comfortable, the small. But you were not born to live small. You were born to rise, to expand, to claim the vastness of your potential. This expansion starts with a ruthless honesty about where you are and where you refuse to remain. You must look without flinching at the parts of yourself that still hesitate, that still cling to the past, that still fear the unknown. Only by shining light on these shadows do they lose their power. You will find that the more you confront what holds you back, the lighter you become, until the heaviness of limitation melts into the weightlessness of possibility. This process is not easy. It demands courage of the highest order. It requires you to trust in the unseen forces that move when you act in alignment with your truth. The universe does not reward indecision. It responds to action, to the energy you put forth, to the faith you carry in your own capacity to transform. Your thoughts shape your reality, but your actions forge it. Every small step taken with intention moves you closer to the life you envision. You must become relentless in your pursuit of growth, refusing to settle for anything less than what sets your soul on fire. This intensity is not a reckless burning out. It is a steady, burning fire that fuels everything you do. It is the fire of purpose, discipline, and unwavering belief in your worth. When you cultivate this fire, you become a beacon of light in a world desperate for hope and strength. Others will feel your energy even when you do not speak. They will sense the unyielding resolve in your presence and be drawn to it, inspired to awaken their own power.